it's Lisa. It is approaching the second week in November, and I've made about 25 Christmas cards, and I need a whole lot more than that, and I'm running out of time. So I'm looking for a fast card that I can make that's cute and shows that I've done my handmade cards like I always do, because I have some friends who look forward to seeing those, but I just don't have time to do tons of stamping and coloring and all that kind of thing this year like I had hoped to do. I'm going to use some washi tape for this card. Now you could use ribbon, you could use designer paper, you could watercolor or paint some paper. You'll see in a few minutes what we're going to do with it, and you can come up with all kinds of different ideas. You need some plain white cardstock that you're going to be putting your washi on, and then you need something that you're going to cut with your die cutter. Now I'm using the Silhouette. You could use the same principle with the Cricut or with another type of die cutter. You need an image that's fairly simple and open. I'm going to use a Christmas tree, but you could do a Christmas stocking, or ornament, anything where there's going to be some space to fill in for this card. So let's go to the Silhouette and look at how we can create it that way. The image I've decided to work with is a Christmas tree, and this is one that I had in my library. I think that it came with those original 50 images or so that you get when you first purchase the Silhouette Cameo. However, I'm not certain, and I don't know. I couldn't find it in the Silhouette store. I'm not exactly sure where this came from. However, you can use any basic Christmas tree image, stocking, anything that's just a really simple image that you want to add color to. So I'm going to work with the Christmas tree, but first I'm going to draw a rectangle to be the size of the cut for my card front. So choose the rectangle tool and draw a rectangle, and let's get it sized the way we want it with the scale window. So I want this to be about 4 inches by 5 1/4. So I got it pretty close. So 4 by 5 1/4, and apply that. I'm going to be putting this on a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card. So we'll take this and then we'll put our tree inside of it to work with it, and this will give us an idea of the size. Now first I'm going to right click on the tree and ungroup it, because there's a separate star image up here and I will be using that later to cut stars. But for now, let's put our tree over here, and it's actually just about the perfect size when I pulled it off of the library. So I don't really think I'm going to need to change that size, because I still need some room for my greeting down here. What I don't like though is all this cut out of the middle. I could leave that, because I'm going to be using just what's left of the cut, not the actual cut of the tree, but what's left on the around the outside of it. So I could leave that middle, but it's just an extra thing for the Silhouette to cut, so it takes extra time, and I got a lot of these to make. To get rid of that middle, if I right click on this, I can't ungroup it any further. You'll see that the ungroup option is grayed out, but I can do something called release compound path. We talk about this more in the Silhouette class that I've created, but the compound path will break this element down some further, and you'll see that now the middle, this drawing here in the center, is its own object, and then I can delete that just by pressing the delete key and removing it. So now I have it cutting only what I need it to cut. It is going to cut out the star, which is fine. I can't really break that down any further unless I use some cutting the blade tool or erase and whatever and make some changes. I'm happy with that, because I'm going to cut these stars separately. I am going to move them off my mat for the time being, because I want to cut those out of a separate color of paper and probably do that on a separate run through. So I have my tree ready to cut. It looks like I have it pretty much centered. I can select both of these and I can choose Object, Align, Center. And that will center it left and right between the outside edges of my rectangle. So then I'm ready to add the text along the bottom. Adding that text is just clicking the text tool and typing in the word I want, and I want the word joy. Now I could take joy as it is and bring that down and put it in under my tree, but I think I'd like it to be a little bit more interesting font than that. you know, it's an okay one, but I think I want to do something a little bit different. And I'm just moving it up here so it's a little bit easier to see and we can play with it a little bit more. So I'm going to double click on this, or I could have clicked on it one time, either way. And going down, I have already played with my fonts some. The one that I like is the Yellowtail font. When I select the Yellowtail font, I get a really neat cursive font. It's one, though, that I'm not going to weld the letters together because they're all individual letters. They don't really come close to one another, and that's fine for my purposes. What I like about it is the Y doesn't have a loop where there's something cut out of the middle. The J does, but it's not that big a deal, because what's going to happen with this word, and I want to change its size a bit. I'm actually going to have to move my tree up some. Make that a little smaller. Okay. I'm just using my arrow keys on my keyboard to move this rather than using the mouse to move it, and that way it doesn't mess up the center going left and right. I have more control with the arrow keys. Alright, with the word joy, the reason I want it to where there's nothing out of the Y, not very much out of the J, is because, like the tree, I'm only interested in what's around it. I'm not interested in the actual letters joy. I'm going to be putting something behind this. So this is going to be kind of like a silhouette in the way it's cut. So now I'm ready to take this object and cut it, and it'll be easier to handle if I select everything, right click and group, and then I can move it around on my cutting mat wherever I'd like. Now I'll cut one of them to make sure that I'm happy with it, but once I'm happy with it and I want to do more than one, then I'll just make copies. I can use the duplicate feature, I can use the replicate feature over here on this window to replicate this left and right so that I can cut, because it looks like I can cut probably 6 of these on a 12 by 12, so I'll get quite a bit out of my paper. I've cut this first one with some white, Naturals white cardstock from Stampin' Up. They no longer make this, I don't think, which really disappoints me. But you can use any kind of cardstock. I'm going to try one here in some pink in a little while and do something non-traditional. You could do, you know, another color, or you could do some other kind of tone-on-tone white look, which I think will be neat. But craft cardstock would look good, whatever you want to use. Now, this is what I'm working with. I'm not interested in the cut itself. Now, I could take this and maybe put it on another card, because actually that would be a really good idea to cut this out of, say, green paper and use green for my background, and then I could take this and just put it on another card, and I'm ready to go, and I have a design. I might, you know, paste something, a star over the top of the star, but so that's another way I can use these cuts and sort of double them up. What I want to do, though, is I've taken a piece of white cardstock and I cut it just slightly smaller, 1/8 of an inch smaller all the way around than the one that's going to lay on top, and I'm going to take a bunch of washi tapes, and I'm not going to spend an eternal amount of time here picking out washi tapes. I'm just going to grab a few that I think look good. I'm kind of sticking with traditional, semi-traditional colors here to start with. We could do some with patterns if we wanted to. I can't help but start matching things when I start working on this stuff. Okay, I'm getting close to having enough washi colors. All right. So there's my colors. Okay, and then all we do is take each of these washi tapes and run a row of them over the paper. Now this is a brand new roll, so I got to find the beginning of it. Here it is. Alright, when I get all of these done, then I'm just going to fold this back on itself, fold this back on itself, And I have a neat looking Christmas card. Now I could of course put yellow up there, but I'm going to cut out the yellow star and put that over the top. And then we're going to put this on a background. And I'm going to do one using the pink cardstock and some non-traditional colors, maybe spend a little more time picking my colors, and we'll kind of see how it looks from there. Okay, we're ready to assemble these. I went ahead and did one with a craft color, and then I'm experimenting with some non-traditional colors. And then we're going to do something with this white one here in just a moment. But let's go ahead and assemble these. And then we'll put the rest of these together. Oh, I like one thing, and that's my star. I cut a star out of some silver paper. So we'll put the star. You wouldn't have to put a star on if you have some washi tape that came through neatly like mine did. You could skip that part. So there's our card. Now let's see, and these will go, this one will go on this card, and then my non-traditional that I'm experimenting with, I have a yellow card. I'm not sure about that, but we'll put those together and see those at the end. Now I don't want to give up on this tree, so I have an idea for it as well, and we're going to use some mists. Okay. I've got 3 green mists here, and I have a stencil. So let's start. Make sure we get everything out of the way here. And I'm going to kind of go over the whole thing with this soft Heidi Swap Citron. I think I need another stencil there. Okay. And then we're going to lay this on top of our tree. I'm going to do it at a diagonal. And give it a little squirt here and there. This one's probably needing cleaning a bit. Okay. And we'll flip that up. Oh, it's smeared because it needed cleaning. But that's still not a bad design there. Kind of a fun design, and we can still put that on top and put it maybe on like a craft background. And I saved the letters from that too, so I still have joy that I can add. So can still do some fun things with that, with the tree. And I could even get creative and add something like some red 3D paint to it and add some little dollops of paint on there, so that would be cute. Let's take that and let's add, I haven't used this in ages. So let's look at some of the finished cards. This was my first one with the pink, but I think I got the hang of it more with doing some of the more blues mixed in with pink, and I did several cards like that. These were the first couple that I made, where I took the middle out of this and misted it, then added some red dots to it, and the middle out of this one became this one. I just did the stencil a little bit simpler with just one mist and then put it on a misted background. I did some others where I cut the trees out of green paper, and then I took those green trees and I stamped them with a background stamp and then put them on a card stamped with a background stamp. So I ended up, here's all the rest of my cards. I ended up with 27 cards total, and most of the washi tape strip stuff that I did that while talking on the phone with a friend. So it really didn't take a ton of time to do these, and they were a lot of fun to make. I hope that you'll make up some homemade cards this year for Christmas and share your craftiness with your friends. And if you don't make a card for everybody, that's okay, because they won't know that some people got one and some people didn't. Anyway, so have fun. Thanks. Bye.